This is the Louie T Network. Hey, either you're outside or you're
in the lab room.
Draft zone.
Hey yo! Who else could it be? But me, your man, Louie T. Welcome, you are in the lab room. Of course, I am your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. This is the 2015 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series, where we break down every single team in the National Football League's 2015 NFL Draft, pick by pick. We give each and every single pick of their draft a score using our baseball grading scale: single, double, triple, home run. There are no strikeouts here in the Draft Wrap-Up Series, so we cannot tell how these players will pan out at the next level. I don't want to discount any of these players before they get their chance in the National Football League. And so we get an aggregate score by adding up all the totals from each and every single pick. Get that score, divide by the number of picks, and that's how we get our final score for X said team. Today we're talking Pittsburgh Steelers. They are the team that you, the viewers, picked next up on the program. You want your team to be next? Simply be the first, the absolute first, no equivocations. Gotta be the first to leave a comment in the comment section stating two things: the phrase next and the team you'd like to see next. Steelers next up on the docket. So let's not delay. Let's get right to the proceedings this evening. We're talking Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2015 NFL Draft. Keep in mind, the Steelers had what I perceive to be the best draft last year. Let's see how they follow that up for an encore in 2015. We start in the first round, 22nd pick overall, outside linebacker out of Kentucky, Alvin Bud Dupree. And so, to me, I'm not going to break this down. If you've been following the series, you know I've already broken down Alvin Bud Dupree on the 101 series, so I'm not going to break them down again, but the Steelers desperately need a guy that can get to the passer. We saw the Steelers have to dig in their old Rolodex and call up James Harrison. What is he, 69 now? And have him come out and try to get pressure on the quarterback. Jarvis Jones hasn't worked out the way that they hoped, and let's hope the light bulb comes on for him. I'd hate to call this kid a bust, but man, is he heading down that path quick. He needs to show up and show up fast. If he can show up to the party and get something done, then Alvin Dupree, and remember, you had one of your linebackers retire on you in the offseason, and so he was going to be a free agent anyway. Don't know if he was going to be back in Pittsburgh or not, but he decided, I'm done. I got some, work that I feel like the Lord has called me to do, so I'm going to go do that. Done with football. It's provided me with a lot of, things in my life that I wouldn't have been exposed to had I not played, but time to go. Jehovah's Witness is calling me, and so, boom, he's out the back door. So now you desperately need some help at linebacker, so you address that by getting Alvin Bud Dupree in the first round. And I was sleeping on Bud Dupree. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I told you, when I make a mistake, I fess up. I'm gonna tell the truth. And I was sleeping. I was sleeping on Bud, man. But somebody said, hey, man, wake your ass up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. It's Bud Dupree. And I said, well, let me watch the tape on this dude, man. What's all the fuss about, man? What's all this? Everybody in an uproar over Bud Dupree. Put on the tape, and I was converted, man. I was a Bud Dupree believer after that. He made a believer out of me. He set the edge in the run game, can get pressure on the quarterback. 4, 5, 6, he showed the movement skills necessary to be a first-round pick at the combine. If not for Vic Beasley, he would have been the talk of the combine with the defensive end and linebackers, with the defensive line and linebackers. He lit it up, but because of what Vic Beasley did, he went overshadowed. But tell you what, man, this is a really good football player that the Steelers went out and got. and I feel like he could be a huge difference maker in 24 for this Steelers football team as they look to try to get back to where they were just, what, 3, 4, 5 years ago? Back in the Super Bowl, having a chance to win it all. And so, in the first round, pick number 22, linebacker out of Kentucky, Alvin Bud Dupree. Is it hard? It's hit deep. Out of here. It's a home run. The first round for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They get themselves another linebacker. Let's get back to Pittsburgh, man. And a guy like Bud Dupree is going to help you do exactly that in the Steel City. You go to the second round, 56th overall selection, cornerback out of Ole Miss, Sinquez Golson. Love this pick. Love this pick, man. And let's jump into his pros real quick. Athletically gifted cornerback, man. This is an ex-baseballer here, so you know the ball skills is off the charts. And he's a 4.46 40 guy. I thought he was outstanding at the combine. In my notes, I said this guy really helped himself tremendously with his movement skills. And so he was one of these guys that I looked at, I said, man, the only thing I don't know about you is that height, man. How is that going to serve you at the next level? But you know what Mike Mayock told me? Mike Mayock, and so let's go to the next pro, because this kind of ties in with what Mike Mayock told me. You know how I feel about Mike Mayock this time of year. Outstanding agility is the next pro for Sinquez Golson. And I said to myself, man, Mike Mayock gave this guy one of the highest praises that you can give to a player. You know, Mike Mayock, not saying that he's stingy with the praises, but you rarely see him go out on a limb this far for a guy when he makes a statement like this. The best pure zone corner I've seen in my life. What? What? In your life? Do you know how much football this man has watched? I mean, this man has an encyclopedia up here of the amount of players that he's watched play the game of football. He said one of the best pure zone corners I've ever seen in my life. Yikes. So when Mike makes a statement like that, I'm thirsty. I am salivating at the chance to put the tape on this guy. So when I put the tape on, you know the expectations through the roof, okay? Not gonna lie to you. I was looking for this dude to make a mistake because I'm like trying to pick him apart because I'm like, Mike said you were the best pure zone corner he's ever seen. I need to see it. I don't believe it. Like always, Mike was right. Mike was right. Always around the ball is the next big pro for Sinquez Golson. And you know how I feel, and I tell you this all the time, and this is a fact. The more that you are around the football, the more good things happen for you. And this guy always seems to be around the ball, and I'll tell you how he benefits from that a little bit later on. He's a ball hawk, and so it didn't take me long to get to where I was going. He is a ball hawk. He's a ball hawk. The dude is always around the football. And when you're around the football, you're a ball hawk, you're an ex-baseball player, you can track it in the air, you see it coming, you can go get it. You know what happens? 10 interceptions in 2014. Yeah, I didn't stutter. 10 interceptions last year by itself. 16 in his collegiate career. This dude finds his way to the football. You make a mistake around him, you're gonna pay for that mistake around Sinquez Golson. I love that about him. Again, there's nothing worse, and you had Ike Taylor for years, so you can kind of attest to this, Steelers fans. Nothing worse than having a quarterback make a mistake around your cornerback and your corner not making them pay for that mistake. Ike Taylor, nobody ever confused him with having the hands of a Greek goddess. Nobody ever gave him that designation. The dude could play football, but his hands weren't the best. This kid here, Sinquez Golson, you make a mistake around him, and much like William Gay last year for you, guys are going to pay, and they're going to pay in a big major way. And so, love that about Sinquez Golson. I talked about him tracking the football in the air. That's the next pro. Look, you don't get 10 interceptions in 1 year and not know where the football is. Obviously, you know where the football is. You see it. You are going to go get it. So, him tracking the football in the air, not a surprise to you. You get it. You understand what's going on here. Physical at the point of attack. That's something that you didn't see coming. And I'm going to tell you why you didn't see it coming. You want me to tell you why? Because he's a 5'8", buck 76 corner. We're talking about a small little boy right here, man. We talking about a young man, and he's coming up and he's stifling guys, giving them that joke, whoa, in the run game, and then discarding them and getting to the ball carrier. The dude is not afraid. He's not scared. So I like that about him. Willing and able tackler. Now, I wish those two things that I just said, those last two pros, I wish that I could apply that to another guy later on in your draft, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But man, this guy, complete package here, man. There's one con, let's get to it. His size, 5'8", 176. You draft a guy in the second round, you're not drafting a guy in the second round to be a slot corner. You're drafting this guy to start out wide, in my mind. Now, I could be wrong. Steelers could have other plans for him. They might have other guys that they feel good about and they want this guy to play in the slot, which is fine by me, but normally you don't do that with a second round corner. Normally you draft the slot guy in the third, the fourth, the fifth round. It's a second round corner with some really unique skills, a really unique skill set, if you will. And so the blueprint has been set. You can do this. Guys have done this before. Brent Grimes is still doing it at a high level in Miami right now as we speak. Antoine Winfield, to me, was one of those guys that kind of set the blueprint for being a 5'8", 5'9" corner, playing in the league for about a decade and getting it done, being physical, tackling, making plays on the football. We've seen this done, so it can be done. So let's not act as if we've never seen a 5'8" guy on the outside. It's just harder to do nowadays because when Antoine Winfield was doing it, when he was in Buffalo and when he was in Minnesota, it was okay to do it because there weren't 10,000 6'5", 6'4", and 6'3" receivers running around the league. Nowadays, it's so many big receivers everywhere. It's like they grow on trees. It's so much harder to take a 5'8" guy and have him match up with a 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" receiver. They're everywhere now, but if anybody can do it, it's my man Sinquez Golson. Really love it. And so my con is simply his height. But I have two questions that I have stemming from his height. Will his size limit his ability? And simply what I mean by that is, are the Steelers going to put him in a box because he's 5'8", 176? Are the Steelers going to say, okay, you're a slot corner and that's it, and not give him a chance to play out wide? We'll see. I don't think the Steelers are that close-minded. They wouldn't have taken him in the second round if they felt that way. In my mind, they're going to give him opportunities to start out wide. If he can't get it done, they'll kick him inside to a slot corner. And again, in this league, nowadays, teams are in 3 wide receiver sets so often that, nickel corners literally start essentially for most teams. So we'll see how that works out and what the Steelers envision him being. But will his size limit what the Steelers think he can do? And can he be physical in the run game at 5'9" essentially? Because he's 5'8" and 5'8", damn near 5'9". Let's call him 5'9", 176. Can he stand up in the run game like he did at college? You can get away with that in college. Guys aren't as physical at the wide receiver position. You go to the next level, these are some big boys. I just told you, literally, you find it hard not to run into a 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" receiver. And a lot of these guys come attached with 210, 215, 220. You see where this is going pounds-wise. These are some big guys, man. We're talking about a 176-pound corner. So can he stand up? He's feisty enough. He's physical enough. He has the mentality. I like everything here. So in the second round, much like the first, it's back-to-back Jets for the Pittsburgh Steelers. As it's hit hard, it's hit deep, out of here. Sinquez Golson, second round corner, out of Ole Miss. It's a home run. So I'm loving what the Steelers are doing right now. This was a need that they needed to attack, much like outside linebacker and the ability to get to the quarterback. That secondary, it was getting old. I would love to say it was getting old overnight. No, this has happened a long time ago. I was talking about this 2 years ago. Ike Taylor, I saw the writing on the wall. He got injured, what was it, 2 years ago, last year? He got injured, and I didn't know if he was going to come back or not. And I was like, he can't end his career like that. He's got to come back, and he did. But I said, hey, Ike's old, man. Ike's old. Troy's old, man. And the Steelers, the thing I love about the Steelers is also the thing I hate about the Steelers. The Steelers, they have a level of commitment and a level of loyalty that I think a lot of teams around the league envy, but at the same time, that loyalty allows this Steelers team to get old right in front of our face. And sometimes it's hard to watch, like Medusa. And so this secondary was old last year, man. And so to see Troy Polamalu retire, to see Ike Taylor bid farewell, bill adieu, hey man, hell of a career. But that leaves you hurting in that secondary. And you can tell that the Steelers realized that because of this draft. You see them target the secondary, and they needed to. And this is a hell of a pickup in the second round, Sinquez Golston. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but this guy's a football player. Wherever you put him, he's a playmaker. That is for sure. Go to the third round, 87th overall selection, wide receiver out of Auburn, Sammy Coates. Now, this is one of the most controversial picks in this draft for the Steelers. Not controversial because anything on the off the field. Talking about on the field production. This guy is Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, if I've ever seen it. And I got a hell of a comparison at the end. He's either going to be this guy or he's going to be this guy. I can't wait to jump to that point in the breakdown and have this nugget that I'm gonna drop on you and drop this gem on your melon and see how you feel about this. Because to me, he's either this guy or he's that guy. We're gonna find out together. Only time will tell, but I can't wait to get there. But let's jump into his pros. Before we get there, we gotta talk about why this guy has the ability and the potential to really be a big-time player in this league. He's 6'1", 212 pounds, and he is a physical specimen. This guy looks like he's about 6'2", 6'3", really. When you just look at him, you're like, man, this is a big kid. Then you find out he's 6'1", you're like, man, you're not as big as I thought, but you look big, and he's got the frame that you like, man. I'm telling you, his body is chiseled like a Greek goddess. He's one of these guys, you're like, man, he's a physical dude, man. There's one play. I'm gonna save that for one of my pros down the road. I'm gonna save that one. Athletically gifted is the next pro. 4'4", 340 guy. The dude can move. You put on the tape, and you're like, God damn, he's running fast. And Mike Mayock told me at the combine, he said, there's gonna be a couple of guys that's gonna be able to challenge Chris Johnson's 40 time. And he said it loosely because he knew none of those guys really were going to be able to beat it, but he threw Sammy Coates in the mix, which let me know, hey, for a guy that's 6'1", 6'2", to even be mentioned in that conversation, you telling me the guy can pick him up and put him down. Sammy Coates can pick him up and put him down. He's a physical athlete. The next one is physically imposing though. That's the one for me that I like the most. Yeah, he's fast, and that's great, but so are a lot of players in the league. What I like about Sammy Coates the most is he's physically imposing, okay? He's not a guy to play with. You don't play with guys like this because they'll put you on your back. They'll embarrass you. So, what I was going to tell you earlier, I want to tell you right now. There's a game against Texas A&M in 2013. I had to go back and watch a little bit of 2013 tape because he was dealing with a knee injury in 2014, so it wasn't the same guy. So I had to go back and watch a little bit of 2013 just to kind of get a feel for what he was when he was fully healthy, and then I watched some 2014 tape. So 2013, Texas A&M game, they throw him the football, he catches it. There's a corner that comes up and tries to tackle him, and literally, Sammy Coates picks the dude up. Literally, one arm got the football, the other arm picks the dude up like he's a shield, okay? And he's blocking off the fender. Picks the dude up, throws his ass on the ground. Literally, one arm, get your ass off of me. And started running again. On some Adrian Peterson versus the Cleveland Browns on the sidelines type nonsense. Crazy. Like if you see that, you're gonna be like, damn, did he just do that? Yeah, he did. Physically imposing receiver. The dude is not to be played with. I'm not joking around. Dude is a physical specimen. He's explosive. Explosiveness is the next pro. Here's a guy, I already told you he's a 4'4", 340 guy, but if you watch the tape, he's blowing by guys, and it doesn't take much for him to get from 0 to 60 real quick. And real quick. I'm talking about this guy is one of these quick twitch athletes that he can pick him up, put him down, and it's nothing for him to catch a hitch, make a move, up the middle of the field, touchdown. I watched the tape, he caught a middle screen, got up the middle of the field, and it was lights out, baby. Game over, touchdown. So this is a guy that can get it done and get it done in a major way and really, really fast as well. Pinching for big plays. At Auburn, he was the guy. They got some guys at Auburn. Duke Williams comes to mind. Big time receiver. You'll hear his name down the road sometime. Big guy, can go up and get the football. But Sammy Coates was the guy in this offense. When they were looking for a big play, when they were down in the game, when they were looking to put a team away, Sammy Coates was that guy. And so Sammy Coates for me is a guy that has a penchant for making big plays, man. You talk about a 60-yard catch, you talk about a 45-yard catch, you talk about a 70-yard touchdown, you talk about a 58-yard touchdown. These are the type of plays that Sammy Coates made or didn't make at Auburn, but at least the opportunity was there for him most of the time at Auburn. This guy is a big play waiting to happen. Let's go to his cons though, okay? He dealt with a nagging knee injury in 2014. I kind of spoke about that already. So you really didn't get the best of Sammy Coates in 2014, yet he still went out, he still played, and he still was ultra effective despite having a nagging knee injury in 2014. The question is that going to go away, and will it reappear, and will he be the same guy that he was in 2013 when he was fully healthy? I think time gives him an opportunity to heal, and he'll be all right, and he won't have to sport that knee brace that he had for the majority of the 2014 season. We shall see. Could be more physical as a blocker. I just told you, he's like a Greek goddess. He's chiseled. He's got the kind of frame you're looking for in this day and age in the National Football League. And yet, still, I feel like there's something missing when he's out wide blocking for his fellow man. That is a problem for me, because you know how I am. If you're a little guy, I'll cut you some slack, even though I want you to go in and mix it up too. You know, no excuses is a no excuses league. But when you're a big guy, you know I have a problem with big guys that don't get their hands dirty enough. I want your hands filthy and nasty. I'm talking about when you stick your hand under the water in the sink, the darkness and the blackness is coming off your hands because it's so dirty, because you've been getting it in the run game. I don't feel that way with Sammy Coates. I feel like when he puts his hands under the water, he starts washing it with the soap, you don't see anything. Sammy's hands are clean because he's not getting dirty in the run game. I need him to be a little bit more physical when it comes to helping out his fellow man trying to get up the field. They do it for you when you catch the football. Need you to return the favor, Sammy. Be more physical as a blocker in the run game. This is the one though. This is the con right here that makes Sammy Coates a 3rd round pick. If not for this, he's a 1st round pick. He's a 2nd round pick. But because of this, Sammy Coates is a 3rd round pick. Inconsistent hands, and I'm being nice, people. Inconsistent hands is being nice. Now, this is what I wanted to say earlier, and I've been dying to get this off my chest. He is one of 2 players, okay? He either is going to be Darius Hayward-Bay. All the physical tools, and Darius Hayward-Bay should have been drafted in the 3rd round. Raiders reached on him. The only reason why Darius Hayward-Bay was a punchline for so long is because the Raiders reached for him, picked him number 7 overall, instead of allowing this guy to fall out of the 1st round, be picked somewhere in the 2nd, 3rd round, where his talent said he should have been selected. Because when you drop the football the way Darius Hayward-Bay dropped the football, not a natural hands catcher, you don't deserve to be a 1st round pick. Sammy Coates has the exact same flaw. He drops the football way too much. You turn on Auburn tape and you watch this guy get behind defenses. You watch Nick Marshall put the football right on the money, and oops, I forgot one thing. Sammy Coates is like, all right, ran a good route, got by the defender, I'm up the field, I got everything. Check, check, check. Damn, I feel like I'm missing something. Yeah, the most important thing, the damn football. He drops the football way too much. We're talking 60 yards, touchdown in the end zone. Oops, ball on the ground. You can't ball without the ball. You know the rules to the game. Play, catch the damn football, man. He's either Darius Hayward-Bay, he's either DHB, or he's a late career T.O. Remember T.O. at the end of his career? Still a stud, still a guy that you had to respect because of the long distance speed, because of the physicality, because at any moment's notice, T.O. could catch a slant, rip it off for 55 yards and still score, still stiff arm a guy, throw him out of the way, still be T.O. of old. But but at the end of his career, remember, he had butterfingers. He dropped the football, see somebody bearing down on him, get nervous, drop the ball, take his eye off the football. He didn't have the same concentration he had earlier in his career. And his hands weren't the best early in his career, but they were really good. They weren't the best, but they were really good. By the end of his career, he started to have butterfingers. You could count on T.O. for a drop or two throughout the course of the game. He could be that, and that's not all bad. I'll take that Sammy Coates over DHB, because DHB is not a viable option as a receiver in the National Football League. Okay? The late stages of his career, T.O. was a guy that you still could suit up, put out there, and have him be a big-time playmaker for you. Sammy Coates is going to drop the football, folks. I don't think he'll ever be a natural hands catcher. But what he is a physical specimen with some explosiveness and some God-given talent that you can't coach. And for that, in the 3rd round, 87th overall selection, wide receiver out of Auburn. Sammy Coates for me is a triple. The dude is still a beast in the amount of plays that he made at Auburn despite the drops. Had he just caught the football and not had the drops, this dude is a first-round pick. That's the kind of talent that he has. The speed, you can't coach it. The explosiveness, you can't coach it. The physicality, when he has the football, you can't coach it. Those are all things you either got it or you don't. He has it. Now the next question is, can he just be consistent enough at the next level? He scares me on 3rd and 9. I'm scared of Sammy Coates on 3rd and 9. Because he could be open and drop the football in a crucial juncture of the game. And as a quarterback, I don't forget those drops. I'm scared to throw you the football on 3rd and 9 when you done let me down twice already in the game. Sammy Coates scares me on 3rd down, but I'm going to tell you what. If the dude gets it and is able to corral the football, you're talking about a beast in the 3rd round that the Steelers just got in the form of wide receiver out of Auburn, Sammy Coates. You go to the 4th round. 121st overall selection, cornerback out of Ohio State, Duran Grant. You start with his pros. Good size, 5'10", 200 pounds. It's not the best size, but it's good size. It's solid size. And to me, he's a longer 5'10" corner. He looks the part of a 6', 6'1" corner. So that's why to me he qualifies as good size, because to me he looks the part of a longer corner. I think his limbs are a little bit longer than the average 5'10" guy. He looks the part of an NFL corner. Great movement skills. 4'4", 440. Moses Malone, 4'4", 440 at the combine. And I actually wrote in my notes, Duran Grant did absolutely nothing wrong today. That's what I said in my notes. When it came to Duran Grant and what he brought to the table at the combine, I thought his movement skills were outstanding. I thought he caught the ball well. I thought he showed great transition, flipping his hips and going and tracking the football in the air. I thought he just looked really good. And it made me say to myself, can't wait to watch the tape on this kid. And when I watched the tape, I was a little bit disappointed in some of the things that I saw. We'll get to that a little bit later on, but he's got great movement skills. There's no denying that. Physical at the line of scrimmage. One of the games to me that I enjoyed watching him in the most was his game against a big-time playmaker in the Big Ten, a receiver, that will be transitioning from receiver to a cornerback at the next level. But I thought he had one of his better games against Michigan State. And he locked up with their best receiver all game long. And he followed him everywhere he went on the field, limited him to next to nothing on the day. And I thought it was his coverage on their receiver that allowed Ohio State to go into Michigan State and get a huge blowout victory against a team that was rated extremely high at the time of the victory. So Duran Grant can go in and do some big things for you as a corner. And I thought he showed it at his best in that game against Michigan State. He's around the football a lot. I talked about this already with Sinquez Golson. When you're around the football, good things happen. And so much so, he had 5 interceptions last year, so he will make plays. That's the next pro for him. He's a guy that when you're around the football, and I talk about this all the time, the more you're around the football, the more good things happen. He was around the football. There's one game I'm watching, he didn't even do anything. He was just around the ball. It got deflected. Guess who was the recipient of that? Duran Grant picks it off down to the 2-yard line. 2 plays later, Ohio State's in the end zone. Touchdown. So those are the type of things that happen when you're just around football. You know, do your job. Be aware of what's going on around you. You're around football, you will be rewarded for being around the football. He will tackle. That's the next pro. This is a guy that isn't afraid to mix it up, and he'll get dirty. He'll get in the run game. He'll help out. He'll do all the things you want him to do as a corner that it can be physical at the line of scrimmage and come up and help in run support. So another pro like that about his game. Let's get to his cons. Does not locate the football in the air. That is a problem for me. You know how I am about locating the football. There were too many instances. Remember I said I was a little disappointed when I turned on the tape because I expected better out of him. And it's crazy because in a lot of the big time games, Oregon and Alabama in the playoffs, he was outstanding in those games for the most part. But he does not look for the football, and it drives me nuts. Find the football, young fella, and he's in great position. That's what makes it even worse. It's one thing when you're beat off the line of scrimmage, you're in a trail technique, You know that the football's coming. You can't catch up enough. You're scared to look back because if the ball is a yard or two ahead of you, you look back. It slows you down a lot of times when you look back for the football. I understand. I get it. I know how the game works. However, you gotta find the football. What if it's underthrown? What if it's right in your lap? You gotta find the football, dude. And he'll be in coverage. And let me lump this next con in here because to me, the next con kind of is part of the reason why he doesn't look for the football. Technique flaws. I hate corners that open up their hips and turn their backs to the quarterback unnecessarily. There are going to be times when you got to turn, because you got to turn and run. You got to bail, you got to get out of there, and you got to turn and run. Flat out be in a sprint with the receiver. Yeah, you turn your back to the quarterback. I get it. I understand it. But I hate when quarterback's over this way, okay? Instead of, I like when you can see quarterback and see man at the same time. I want, if a guy is in front of you here, or they're outside of you here, and you're running, I want you to, and it's cover 3. You're not man to man with this guy. So why do you need to really absolutely know where this guy is? You just need to make sure he's in front of you. If he gets behind you, you got a problem. But I like when guys open up, and they see the quarterback, they see receiver. So you know the receiver's here, you know the quarterback's there, you can see both of them, and you're still, in a position where you can stop playing, get back to the football if need be. But when you turn your back to the quarterback and the receiver is over here, to me I have a problem with that because now you lose vision of what's going on here in the backfield, and more importantly, you have no idea where the football is unless you look for it. So he's the guy that starts here, aggressively at the line of scrimmage. Receiver comes out here and he turns his back this way. He opens up his hips out this way, turns his back to the quarterback. Now he's face guarding the receiver, which is fine if you locate the football. He doesn't look for it, and that's how he gets in trouble. I have a problem with that. And so, I didn't see that against Tony Lippett when he played Michigan State. He D'd Tony Lippett up, locked him up. And he was opening up his hips, eyes on the quarterback, eyes on the receiver. He knew where the ball was. He knew where everything was in front of him. I don't understand why he didn't do that more often. I just need him to be more consistent in that manner. He's nosy at times. When he's in zone coverage, sometimes he'll just get flat-footed on me, fall asleep, and somebody will leak out behind him, and the play will start where there's no receiver on his side. So they're playing a zone, whether it's cover 3 or cover 2, whatever the case may be. A lot of times it's cover 3. And he gets to come and cheat up to the line of scrimmage because there's no responsibility on his side. So he'll come up and then he'll sag off once the ball is snapped, and then the tight end will come into his zone. And instead of him picking up the tight end coming into his zone, he's just staring at the quarterback. And the tight end will leak out behind him, run a corner route across the field behind him, easy completion. I'm like, dude, that was an easy knockaway or possibly a touch interception had you just played your position instead of just chilling, And sometimes he'll be lackadaisical. There'll be a receiver on his side. He'll sag off of the receiver, being nosy, trying to jump an underneath route and allow a guy to get on top of him, and now there's big trouble behind you. If the safety doesn't bail you out, you're in trouble. So sometimes he can be nosy and that can get him in trouble as well. But all in all, I think he's a really solid corner that can come in and help. My only problem with him is he doesn't locate the football. That's a recipe for disaster at the next level. And because of that fact, this was a triple right here. Until I saw consistently game after game after game, he's not looking for the football and he's face guarded. You're asking for trouble, young fella. And so in the 4th round, 121st overall selection, corner out of Ohio State, Duran Grant for me is a 2-bagger. Safely slides into 2nd, no problem there. But he could have easily turned it into a triple had he been running. As soon as he hit the ball out of the box, he could have legged out a triple. Instead, it's a double in the 4th round for the Steelers and cornerback Duran Grant. You move on to the 5th round, 160th overall selection, tight end out of Penn State, Jesse James. We jump into his pros. Quick story about Jesse James. This was not the pick for the Steelers. They wanted Max Williams, tight end out of Minnesota in the 2nd round. They were set to take him, Ravens. And I love when there's division on division, team on team violence in the draft. And this was a clear-cut case of, I need it more than you do. I know you need it, and I know you're looking for it, but I need it right now. You looking to groom this guy, I'm looking to play this guy right away. So I got to jump in front of you, and I got to steal something that you got your eyes on. And so the Ravens come up, get Max Williams, and so the Steelers then had to say, all right, we'll get something later on. You got us. Well played, Ravens. Well played. And so that leads us to the 5th round, 160th overall selection, Jesse James, tight end out of Penn State. 6'7", 261-pound framed tight end. He looks the part of a Steelers receiver. We know Heath Miller, 6'5", big guy, about 260, 270. And they got their backup tight end. He's another big guy. He's about 6'7", 6'6". So they keep a big tight end on deck through the Steelers. To me, he looks much more like their backup tight end than their starting tight end, Heath Miller. Now, they run similar, but I think he's a little bit more athletic than Heath Miller ever was. And so that's something that may benefit the Steelers right away. Physical at the point of attack, physical at the line of scrimmage is the next pro. At Penn State, they asked this kid to block a hell of a lot. Almost somewhat uncomfortable with the amount of times they asked him to block, when I felt like he could be an asset to you in the passing game. I felt like there were times where he could have been utilized, but in Penn State's defense, their offensive line was not very good. They're lacking for talent there. They're still feeling the effects of that scandal. Lost a lot of scholarship athletes, lost a lot of scholarships in general. And so they're still feeling the ill effects of that penalty that was levied down on them by the NCAA. So in fairness, he needed to stay in and block a lot of times because they just weren't good enough up front to protect their quarterback. But I would have loved to have seen him get out on the route a little bit more. But when he was asked to block, he was tremendous in doing so for the most part. There were a couple times he'd get beat around the edge with a little bit of speed. It happens. But for the most part, he stuck his nose in there and he protected the quarterback and gave him opportunities to get rid of the football. And for that, I say, kudos, young fella. There is a place in the National Football League for guys like yourself. Viable option as a pass-catching tight end. And I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. I would love to have seen him catch more passes at Penn State because I thought he was capable of doing so. Big body receiver like himself. He's a guy that I thought you can move around. That takes us to our last pro. He's versatile. Here's a guy that they moved out wide at times. They had him in the slot. He'd come down as a crack option sometimes. But he's a guy that could win one-on-one matchups versus tight ends and safety because he's 6'7". I mean, if all else fails, back shoulder wins. If all else fails, up high wins. Who else is 6'7" out there? Nobody. So he's got a reach in it, and he's got a vertical. He's sneaky athletic when it comes to jumping, not necessarily getting up the field. He's not a 4'7" guy. He's not a 4'6" guy. And we'll talk about his feet in a second here, but he's got all the tools you need to get it done to the next level. His vertical is better than that of Jimmy Graham and Rob Gronkowski. So this is an athletic guy on the sneak. Shh, don't tell nobody. From that standpoint, you talk about 6'7", you add in like a 38-inch vertical, and what are we talking about here? We're talking about a mismatch. So I would love to have seen him catch more footballs at Penn State, but that just wasn't on the menu. They needed him to block, and so he did that at Penn State. You go to his cons. Not overly athletic. He's a 4'8", 340 guy. Now, I say that in one breath, and then I turn around and say, he's 6'7", 260. What are you looking for this dude to be? I mean, I've been spoiled, I guess. And I guess this generation, we have been spoiled. Because we look up and we see offensive linemen that are 6'5", 315 pounds, and these guys are running sub 540s and 4'7s, and you're like, God damn it, that guy's athletic. And so when you see a guy and you look at him and he's running a 4'8'3", and you're like, okay, I'm not overly impressed, but that's really good for a guy that's 6'7", 260. So I say that he's not overly athletic, but I tell you he's got a great vertical, and I like his movement skills. I'm being nitpicky here. I think he has the ability to stretch the field, and he's more athletic than Heath Miller has been for you for the last decade, and I think he can get it done at the next level. If he's groomed up properly, put in positions to succeed, I like his ability to transition to the next level with his skill sets that he brings to the table. Lack of heavy production, I kind of spoke to that. It's not his fault. It's Penn State's fault. It's what they asked him to do. He did what they asked him to do, and he was a team guy. He sacrificed. And I don't blame him as a junior for stepping out and saying, I'm out. I'm going to go to the next level because I'm not going to develop into anything more than a basically virtually another tackle for you at Penn State when I could go to the next level, continue to learn as a blocker, but get more opportunities to catch the football. I don't blame him. Lack of production makes me a little upset, but it's not his fault. To me, in the 5th round, 160th overall selection, Jesse James from the tight end out of Penn State is a double. I think that this kid has potential to be a triple down the road, but right now, because there's so many things that hasn't been tapped into because of what he was asked to do at Penn State, to me, he's still a double. I want to see what he is as a pass catcher at the next level. I think he can block right now at the National Football League level. There's still a few things he's going to have to clean up as a blocker, but I think he can get it done as a blocker. I want to see him stretch the field, over the middle of the field. I want to see him make some tough catches. I want him to be in the next line of really good, solid tight ends for the Steelers. I want him to take over that Heath Miller role. I don't want him to be the backup tight end. I want him to be the starter in 2 years and be really good in that role and not a career backup tight end. I think he has it in him. I just need to see it. He's a double in the 5th round. You go to the 6th round, 199th overall selection, defensive tackle out of Central Michigan, Latarius Walton. Pro, 6'5", 319-pound frame. He flashes elite quickness at times. Is the next pro. This is a guy that every now and again will show you why the Steelers decided to go and get this guy in the 6th round. He can be electric with his quickness at times, and at other times he'll just put you to sleep because he's not doing anything impactful in the football game. Well put together. His frame is so lean. At 319 pounds, you see him and you're like, man, what are you 300 pounds? And he's like 319. Damn it, man. You look like you are about 300, 285. It's well put together. It's a lean frame, which makes me think maybe he could put on another 5 or 10 pounds. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. You know, maybe put on a little bit more muscle. Who knows? This guy could be a home wrecker down the road. But right now, the lean frame, I'm feeling the look. Don't get me wrong, I'm feeling the look. But maybe you can get a little bit bigger and start wreaking even more havoc with a little bit more muscle on you. I don't know, I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Upside, he's raw. Now, as you know, being raw can be a gift and a curse. It's all in the way you look at it. Right now, I'm looking at his rawness as upside. He is a young pup. He's going to get better. That's the assumption that the Steelers are making. That's why they drafted him in the 6th round. You go to his cons, however, he's raw. So I just took a pro and I flipped it on his head and made it a con that quick. See how I did that? Just like that. He's raw. He came to college as an offensive lineman. He got there and they said, you know what? You look like you could play defensive line. We got enough offensive linemen. We're fine over there, okay? You need to go over to the other side of the ball. We're hurting over there. Let's see what you look like as a defensive lineman. It worked out. They kept him there. He's still got a lot to learn, however. And so because of that, he's raw. When you're a 6th round pick, if you don't flash enough and you're raw, you get stashed away on the practice squad. Guess what happens? You could rot away on the practice squad. You can either make this team or you can not make this team. I'm worried about him because when you're raw and I don't see enough out of you, I get scared because a lot of times, even though you could be a talented football player, you could get left by the wayside and never have that talent and that potential manifest itself into anything. We will see if they can coach him up because they're hurting at defensive end. Steelers could use some depth, and I think this kid could provide that for them, but I just need to see more. I need to see more. I feel like there's something missing there, not a natural pass rusher. And I think that is just strictly because he's raw. Maybe if you show him some tools that he can stick in his tool belt, maybe he could be a pass rusher down the road. But right now, he either wins with quickness, and I talked about the quickness earlier, or he wins with a straight bull rush. He didn't win with that bull rush often enough. You know why he didn't win with the bull rush enough for me? Because of this last con. Needs to use leverage more often. You're 6'5", you're 319. I love your frame. I need you to use it. I need you to get down, lower, up under the pads, push, drive up. You know that machine that they have where the coaches stand up there and they got a dummy in front of them and they pick the machine up and they drive it and they push it? Yeah, I need you to practice that on the offensive lineman in front of you. That's why they have that drill. Because you are supposed to be getting leverage up under the pads, up under the numbers, and driving up and lifting these guys up and taking them into the backfield. He's too upright. He gets up, and he's trying to push guys up in here in the neck area. Doesn't work. Guys are anchoring back and they're not moving. He's not moving the pocket. He's not doing enough. And so because of that, because of his rawness, because of the fact that there's still a lot of undeveloped, unrefined tools here with Latarius Walton in the 6th round, he's a single for me. I don't know. I think he's going to make this team just because of the lack of depth at the 5 technique for the Steelers. But it wouldn't surprise me if this kid doesn't have an impact and doesn't make this roster either. I could easily see him missing the cut as a Pittsburgh Steelers defensive lineman. But again, because of the lack of depth there, all they got right now, if I'm not mistaken, is Cam Hayward and Stephon Tuitt. I think they're really thin at the 5 technique, so they could use some help. And I think they're thinking that this is they know it's a project. They know what they got themselves into, but they see potential. They just gonna have to coach it out of them. So we'll see what happens. For me right now, I'm not a huge potential guy. I need to see production. I need to see more of the flashes of potential on film. I didn't see enough of it. It's a single for me in the 6th round. You move on to another 6th round selection, 212th overall, defensive end out of Miami, Anthony Chickillo. Now, here's this guy's DNA makeup. 6'3", 267 pounds. So right there, you're getting size. What are you? Are you a 5 technique? Are they going to stick him outside? He's got to be a 5 technique. In my mind, put on about 10 pounds, make yourself a 5 technique, and I think he can do it. I like some of the things that he did at Miami. Started the point of attack. There wasn't one time I saw this guy blown off the football. They moved him all around the defensive line. Takes us to our next pro, his versatility. They moved him all up and down that line at Miami. He was at left defensive end, he was at right defensive end, he was at the defensive tackle spots. He moved all around that line. They stunted him. They had him doing all kinds of twists and stunts. At times, they even stood him up outside. So he was very versatile at Miami, which lends me to believe that he might even stand up in Pittsburgh's defense every once in a while. So to me, he's another guy that they're probably looking at as an option as a 5 technique. But at 267 pounds, you're not going to find many 5 techniques that small in this league. He's either standing up or he's going to have to put on some more weight to make this roster and have an impact as a Steeler. Physicality, he plays with a physical toughness and edge that you don't see out of a lot of 267-pound defensive ends. And there's just a little bit of an edge with which he plays. And so, to me, there's something to be said about that physicality. In the National Football League, tough man usually wins. And the most aggressive and physical guy usually is the victor on most plays. To me, it's not going to be many plays where Anthony Chickillo isn't the toughest guy in that mix. So, like his physicality that he plays with, that little bit of an edge, he plays with a little bit of an extra oomph, and puts a little bit of elbow grease in there, and I like that about him and his game. He's relentless, and that's probably the thing that I like about him the most. Is he had about 15 career sacks at Miami, 16 and a half, something like that. And of those sacks, a lot of the ones that I saw was sheer relentlessness. It wasn't him beating a guy off the snap and winning with quickness or blowing up a guy and driving him into the back. It was him never giving up on a play, quarterback running out of options, looking for a backdoor exit, and guess who we found? Anthony Chickillo, get down on the ground. And so there are a number of times where he got to the quarterback just off of sheer hustle, never giving up on a play. And again, that's something that I can respect when you're talking about a defensive lineman. You go to his cons. There's not one dominating trait here with Anthony Chickillo. Not one thing that stands out that makes you say, that guy needs to be on the field. Because that right there is why he's an NFL football player. Not one single trait. He's a solid athlete, solid size, not great size, not a great athlete. He gives you everything he's got. But there's not one extraordinary characteristic that makes this guy stand above the rest. Probably why he's a 6th round pick. But nonetheless, he's a solid football player in any right. Not a disruptive pass rusher. I'd love to see him develop some moves. I mean, everything's a bull rush. Everything is trying to use speed to the outside. You're not fast enough. I just told you he didn't have a discernible trait. So you're not fast enough to use speed to the outside on a consistent basis and win with that. You don't bull rush guys well enough. He doesn't use good enough leverage to win on a consistent basis there. So, yeah, to me, he didn't have a go-to move. And look, At least have a fastball. Doesn't have a fastball. Well, didn't have a great curveball or a changeup. No, doesn't have it. All of his pitches are the same. They're all okay. They all have pretty good effectiveness. None of them great. And so in the 6th round, 212th overall selection, Anthony Chickillo for me is a double. I like this guy. And what's solid? What's average? A double. And to me, that's exactly what Anthony Chickillo is. He's not going to get you too high. He's not going to get you too low. He's right somewhere in the middle. And for me, in the middle is a double. And that's what Anthony Chickillo in the 6th round for me is for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You go to their final and 8th selection in this draft, 7th round, 239th pick overall, safety out of Louisville, Gerard Holloman. This is the guy that I thought, before I even put on the tape, just hearing the stats and what he brought to the table, all ACC Defensive Player of the Year and all, you hear those kinds of accolades, I'm thinking this guy's gotta be legit. He's gotta be going in the first 3 rounds or so. Because you gotta remember, in this draft, the talk was tight end, not a good draft, safety, not a good draft. Everything else, you can find you some quality football players, but those 2 positions, don't look for it in this draft. You won't find it. Well, I said, well, what's wrong with this Gerard Holloman kid? And Mike Mayock told me something that I never liked to hear. Mike Mayock said, he can't tackle. I said, man, Mike, stop your nonsense, Mike. Why are you gonna say that about? And Mike didn't make up stuff. Mike doesn't have, vendettas against anyone. If you can't tackle, Mike is gonna say, hey, you can't tackle. And Gerard Holloman, I said, it can't be that bad, can it, Mike? No, it can't be. It can't be, Mike. So I had to put on the tape. I'm here to tell you, it's that bad. But let's get to his pros first. Good size, 6 feet, 218 pounds. That's good size for a safety. And that's exactly what you're looking for in this day and age with, safeties having to be interchangeable. Got to be able to do a little bit of the free safety thing as well as the strong safety thing. That's a good size to do that. Outstanding ball skills. When I say outstanding, I mean outstanding. Man, he's got some skills. This dude's ball skills are off the charts. I'm looking up and I can't even see them. Ball skills is ridiculous. Just put on a tape, any tape, okay? When you have 14 interceptions in 1 year, I didn't stutter, 14 INTs. That is a collegiate career for about 3 guys combined. He had it in 1 year. When you get that many interceptions, you can put on any damn tape you want. Most likely he got an interception in that game. There were a couple of 3 interception games, a couple of 2 interception games, but pick a game, any game, he probably got an interception. And in most games, he got 1, he got 2 or 3. And there are some games where you're just like, man, that is outstanding right there. I mean, that is awesome. You put on the Florida State game, he had 3 interceptions, I believe, in that game. 2 for sure. And he could have had 2 more. He dropped 1 way down the field and he had another one hit him in his hands. So, I mean, guys, just, ball skills are just ridiculous, okay? Tremendous 2014, I've already chronicled that. 14 INTs. That's what landed him ACC Defensive Player of the Year. That's what landed him as an all-conference safety. You know what it is. When you get 14 interceptions, what else do you expect, okay? Always around the ball. Do I have to tell you that? I mean, 14 interceptions, really? Do I have to tell you that he's always around the ball? No, I don't have to tell you that. You understand what's going on here. Good range. Again, there's a play against Florida State that really gives you a snapshot of what his range looks like. He's in the middle of the field playing cover 2. He's got a deep half, and Jameis Winston is staring down a receiver, so he basically gets a bead on a guy. And Jameis Winston tries to throw it into triple coverage. Gerard Holloman reads his eyes, takes him straight to the football. He runs over from the middle of the field all the way to the outer hash, literally to the sidelines. Picks the football off because it's an overthrow. And that gives you a really good idea of what his range is. It's really good. He can get to the football. And so that takes us to his cons, man. And it hurts me when a guy is that talented at catching the football. You want him to have at least some type of semblance of tackling ability. Let's talk about some of the other things that makes this guy a less attractive option as a safety on your football team. He's a freelancer. You get 14 interceptions by being in the right place at the right time. And for him, a lot of that came off of just freelancing. I can't tell you how many times this guy would just not do what he was supposed to do, just literally disregard his responsibility on the play, and it would work out. I'm pretty sure that the coaches would watch tape and say, God damn it, Gerard, what the hell are you doing? Oh, good play, Gerard. I mean, it was one of those situations where you take an ill-advised shot as a basketball player, and the coach is screaming, no, 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 good shot. It goes in, okay? There are so many times where Gerard Holliman would literally be like this on the play. Boom, interception. Just running around in circles, doing his own damn thing, and I'm like, dude, what the hell were you supposed to be doing on that play? There'd be times where he'd get beat on the play, he'd be like, God damn, what were you doing? And it's the same thing he did 2 quarters ago when he got an interception, so you can't be mad. Can't fuss at him when he's not where he's supposed to be, because when he wasn't where he's supposed to be earlier, he got an interception and you pat him on the back. You can't be mad when he gives up a 60-yard touchdown because he wasn't where he's supposed to be, because he did the same thing earlier and got an interception. So he's a freelancer. He's a guy that he'll mess up your whole defense, because you know, it takes 11 guys in unison to make a defense work. And if one guy decides he wants to be a hero and play hero ball, he can mess up. The other 10 guys can do their jobs exactly as scripted. If one guy goes off the cuff and does his own thing, can mess up the whole defensive fabric and destroy the whole play. The integrity of the play is destroyed, and he's an integrity destroyer, is Gerard Holliman. He is a one-year wonder guy. 14 interceptions in 2014. I beg you, I plead with you, go and find more production from this kid throughout his career. Go find that kind of production in 2013, 2012, 2011. Go find it. You can't. It's not there. He's a one-year wonder. You always worry about guys with a spike in production for 1 year. We've seen these guys come into the league year in, year out, flame out, and they're not around 5 years later. So you're somewhat nervous about 1 year of production, but it's there. It exists. So you want to build off of that if you are the Steelers. And finally, the elephant in the room. Horrendous, and I've never said this before. I've never put these 3 words together. And so that gives you an idea of just how bad this is. I've never put these combination of words together, because normally it's not a mentality, it's just you're not the best tackler. I usually dress it up. There's no dressing this up. This is terrible. Horrendous tackling mentality. This isn't bad form. This isn't a guy taking poor angles, which he does do both of the two. This is a mentality. He doesn't want to tackle. He's not interested in getting a guy on the ground unless there is help. If you got a guy by the legs and he sees a free shot, oh yeah, he'll come in. He'll be a tough guy now. Chest all puffed out, and he'll throw a shoulder in there. Oh yeah, he's ready, you know. But if he's got to come in and get a guy down by himself, let's just go with this. Let's go with this premise. There are 60 tackling opportunities for Gerard Holliman. Of the 60 tackling opportunities that he had, 5 of them were clean tackles by himself, no help. The other 55 were flat out misses or abandonments. And abandonments mean you basically just don't give a damn. You don't give a crap. All right, you come up, you throw a lazy shoulder in there, you dive, you miss, you don't even see what you're hitting. You can care less. Or you just come up and you run, and then you look and you're like, oh damn, I didn't get him. Or you take a poor angle, run by a guy, then are in chase mode. You really don't want to catch him though. I mean, this guy has no desire whatsoever to tackle. None. I've never seen a guy at the college level. I've seen guys in the NFL have no desire to tackle. Okay, yeah, I've made it, I've established myself, I got money, I'm paid, I'm good. I've never seen that mentality from a college player though that hasn't made any money yet. You can't show that kind of lack of effort on tape and expect a team to seriously consider taking you. Despite the ball skills, his inability to tackle makes me feel like I can't put you on my football team. I was wondering, when I was watching the draft, why hasn't this guy come off the board yet? I put the tape on and I see exactly why he was selected in the 7th round. He could have easily went undrafted and I wouldn't have batted an eye at that just because of what I've seen on tape. Because of the lack of desire, the will to want to get your hands dirty. His hands are so clean. And squeaky clean. Never gets his hands dirty in a rain game. And because of that, in the 7th round, despite having the ball skills, might have the best ball skills in the entire draft. Maybe. It's being wasted. Because in the 7th round, Gerard Holliman for me is a single. Remember I talked about having the mentality of a Sinquez Golson. I said, I wish I could give his mentality to a guy later on in the draft. This is the guy I was talking about. If he was willing, even if he was a poor tackler, but he was willing to come up and help, this guy is a 5th, 4th, 3rd round pick. Just with a different mentality, just with a mentality switch, this guy's a 3rd round pick. But because of his inability to want to participate in tackling, he's a 7th round pick. Easily could have went undrafted. And so that's the Steelers draft in a nutshell. You look at the picks and you start breaking them down. You got 2 home runs back-to-back in the first 2 rounds in Dupree and Golson. You follow that up with a triple with Sammy Coates. You go to the 4th round and you go to the 5th round as well. 2 doubles in Grant and James. Then you get a single out of Gerard Holliman and Latarius Walton, and you add 1 last double, which nets you a doubles bonus in the form of Anthony Chickillo. You add all of those up, you get 21 points for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this draft. You divide by the number of picks, which is 8, you get a 2.6 double for the Steelers. So not as strong a draft this year as it was last year. Still a lot of good pieces coming out of this draft, especially early on. I thought you did some serious damage. I really like Jesse James. I want to see him develop into the type of player that I believe he can be. And I also want to see what they have in store for a guy like Anthony Chickillo. Really, his size makes me question what he's going to be as a Steeler. We shall see. Can Duran Grant find the football at the next level, or will he be a face guarder for life? We shall see. It's a 2.6 double for the Pittsburgh Steelers in their 2015 NFL draft. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. So, one thing remains. Who's next? There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie T, be sure to follow me on Twitter at InTheLabRoom, or you can like the Facebook page at In The Lab Room. That's In The Lab Room on Facebook and at In The Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.